You're listening to Veterans for Recovery, a podcast that unpacks all things recovery within our extended military family. Join your host, Retired Major John Donovan, a noted author, lecturer, and person in long-term recovery from substance use disorder, as he and his guests will break down current trending topics and research, along with all things recovery related to increasing recovery resilience and recovery capital within our veteran and service member communities. Now here's your host, Major John Donovan.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Veterans for Recovery. This is a podcast that looks at all things pertaining to our veterans, service members, and their family members who are in recovery or seeking recovery. I'm John Donovan, retired major of the United States Army, and I'm a person in long-term recovery. With me today is my guest, Jen Tregarthen. Jen, did I get the pronunciation of your last name correctly?
Tregarthen.
Tregarthen. Jen and I will be exploring what recovery means and how it impacts our lives, but specifically through the foundation that Jen is a board member for, which is Tee It Up for the Troops. Jen, welcome to the show, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for the invitation, JD. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited about this because I have a long history with Tee It Up for the Troops. In fact, I was at their very first inaugural event back in Minnesota, where I was doing public affairs for the Minnesota National Guard. And I got this telephone call from a person who identified himself as the director of Tee It Up for the Troops. And that was a guy by the name of JB Ball. And JB said, hey, we're doing this military-related charity, and we were wondering if we could get maybe a couple of Humvees or some kind of static displays. And I said, yeah, we do that kind of thing all the time. Let me, check with my boss. And then he said, and also if the adjutant general, at that time, it was a guy by the name of Major General Larry Shellito, two-star general, who was in charge of all the soldiers and airmen of the Minnesota National Guard, just a small roster of about 15,000 people. And he said, if he could come by and make a few comments too. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, no problem. But I pitched it to the general, and he was like, yes, happy to accommodate. And so we went out to that very first event. And Tee It Up for the Troops has been going on strong. Am I correct in that you've just celebrated your 20th anniversary?
Yeah, 2025 would have been that.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that was nearly 21 years ago now.
It doesn't feel like it, does it?
Oh no. And if I were to actually take a look at that would just simply mean that I'm getting older, and I don't want to cop to that. So let's just drive on.
Okay.
So, Jen, first of all, tell us about yourself, your background, your education, your profession.
Thank you. Thanks for asking a little bit about that. I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a little further away from Minnesota at the time. I was the second of four kids. And after high school, I joined the United States Army. I started off as that's right. I started off as a mental health specialist. We went through EMT training as well. And my first duty station was Korea. I'd never been out of the country, and I was culturally shell-shocked when I went, but we had a good time. And I met my husband there. He was doing his second tour in Korea at the time. After we left Korea, I was stationed at Fort Hood, Texas. And in 2003, we deployed to Iraq, and we're the first group with the 4th FSB to join the ground troops out there in Iraq. After 4 years was up at the end of Iraq, my husband and I both ended our tours and came back to Oklahoma, where I went to the University of Oklahoma for college. I studied communications and public relations, got into tourism and higher education, spent about a decade there, and then moved up to Minnesota to work at Lockton, where I help businesses with their risk management, insurance, and employee benefits needs now.
Wow, what an incredible career. So I'm assuming that when you went to university that you got out, or did you stay in a reserve status?
Nope, we finished our 4 years and got out of the military at that time.
Okay. And then I am assuming that you accessed the post 9/11 GI Bill to help with your college studies?
We did. They did not just help, they provided us with our college education. It was the best gift in the world.
Isn't that incredible? And that's a great talking point because many of our listeners are veterans who are in recovery, and they may still be in, or they may be looking at getting out. And that post 9/11 GI Bill is a powerful, powerful tool in getting a person's career started or maybe a midlife change. I had finished my master's degree when I was on active duty. And so when I came back home, I had this post 9/11 GI Bill, and I was like, gosh, I really don't want to go for a PhD. So I ended up gifting it to my daughters. One of them got 2 years, and then my stepdaughter got 2 years of funding. And they were like, Dad, stepdad, this is the best thing ever.
You know what? I was just going to say that's such a wonderful point because a lot of military people get out and might go into trades where they may not need the 4 years of training or any of it at all from the GI Bill. So it is a really great gift to pass along to your children.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if they're going to a tech school where, we've seen just a mushrooming of people going into the tech schools deciding, the 4 year degree isn't really for me, but I can do 2 years and then I'm going to get a trade. And the GI Bill will pick that up, and it picks up tuition, and it picks up books, and it picks up lodging. I think my stepdaughter told me I'm actually making like $100 a month going to college.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
yeah, a really, really great tool, and kudos to you. Thank you for your service. I imagine doing mental health stuff over in Iraq during 2003. I mean, when we first had troops on the ground, boots on the ground there, that must have been pretty trying at times, maybe a little stress filled or harrowing. Tell us about your experiences there.
It was, and it felt a little grassroots. We were making it up as we were going. We weren't really sure what was needed when it came to what support the military would need from us. What we found, I tied myself to a combat stress team while I was out there. Our unit, my peers in 4th FSB mental health were spread out through different locations, so I was solo. A lot of what I did in the first few months was tackling sleep deprivation, stress management, family separation issues, some of those other challenges that just may be realizing that you're in a war situation, the fear of the unknown. As the months progressed, there was a combat stress team that came and settled in on my base at Camp Packhorse. And we spent a lot of time listening to incidents that would happen in our area and then traveling out to those bases to do combat debriefs,
Yeah.
after action debriefs. And what I really found was that was the space that I thought was the most powerful way that we could deploy our expertise and our help to support our fellow servicemen and women who had been in an incident, and helping them work through the timeline, work through the grief, work through survivor's guilt that might be happening, working through injuries that they may have sustained during that time. So it was pretty powerful.
I can only imagine. And thank you. Thank you for providing such an incredible service under the most austere conditions. And I can totally relate to that idea of building the ship while you fly it. Um, Tours in 2007 and 2009. And in 2009, my job was to set up the Visitors Bureau. And that would be the logistical support for any distinguished visitors that came in, anybody over the rank of 06, and anybody in a civilian status of, senior executive service or '07 or above. So congressmen, governors, 1, 2, 3, 4-star generals, those were all our responsibility in setting up their itinerary and things like that. And here's the deal. Nobody had done it before us because we were the first ones to move in. And so literally it was building the ship as we flew it. Your debriefs, incredibly, incredibly important. those harrowing experiences that sometimes get played almost on a loop and a tape in our mind over what happened, and just that ability to talk about it in a no judgment zone. Where nobody's going to judge your fear, your feelings, what you did or you didn't do. It's just an opportunity to talk about that and to get it out there. It seems to open kind of the pressure valve. It seems to lighten the load. What were your experiences with that?
A lot of what I experience is that trauma really warps our vision of what had happened during an event. And I think being able to process it a little bit more clinically, what was the timeline? Everybody's walking through that at the same time. Where were you? It's like recreating together where the situation was, what happened, where you were located even. Sometimes your brain might make you believe that you were in a different spot during an event that had happened. Your brain is built to protect you in essence. And so talking through those moments can really help paint a better picture of what happened in that moment, where everybody was in those moments, and how you support each other. You got it right. I mean, I think that the military is one of the tightest knit communities where trust is built through shared experiences, living in the trenches together. And so those folks are leaning on each other day in and day out. And walking through those moments can be really difficult, but very therapeutic for them.
Incredible, incredible. And thank you. Thank you again, because that kind of service, especially in the moment, at the time it occurred, or 24 to 48 hours thereafter, it literally saves lives. It saves minds, because now I can debrief, de-stress, move on. I don't have to hang on to that stuff. I can stay focused on my mission. I'm not caught up in thoughts about yesterday. We often tell people in recovery, don't stumble over something behind you.
Mm,
And and a great opportunity to kind of reset and move forward. So thank you for doing that. An incredible, important service, and one that we don't really talk about a lot, and I think don't get enough credit to. You know, we give a lot of credit to trigger pullers. We give a lot of credit to the people who kick down the doors. You know, after all, it's a combat mission, and we need those people, and that's very, very important. But we also need the people who support them,
yes,
people like you, who provide those important services at the time, in the place. So again, thank you.
of
So
course, you're welcome.
you came back. You were studying at the University of Oklahoma. Did I get that right?
You got it right.
Go Sooners!
Go Sooners.
All
Boomer
right.
Sooner.
And so you finished up your degree, and at that time you said you met your husband while in theater or at the university.
We met at my first duty station, which was in Korea. I was at Camp Casey. He was down south in Uijeonbu, but he was working on my base. He was an engineer. So they were working on some roads, and we met, got married before we both deployed to Iraq. So we'll be celebrating our 23rd year together this year.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Congratulations. My wife and I
thank you.
just predated you by 2 years.
Ah, well, congratulations to you too.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll be celebrating 25. And we had the plan that we were going to get married, that we were going to live in St. Cloud, Minnesota, just about 70 miles north of your corporate headquarters of Teed Up for the Troops. And I was going to be a reservist and work full time, and she was working full time. And we got married, and 9 months later, 9/11 happened. I got called up to active duty and stayed there for the next 18 years.
Oh, wow. That's a pivot you weren't expecting.
Well, we'll see how that works out. Uh, so you moved to Minnesota. How did you come in contact with Teed Up for the Troops, or how did Teed Up for the Troops come in contact with you? Are you a golfer?
I wasn't at the time. When I came to Minnesota, my colleagues all told me I needed to learn to golf, and I resisted for the longest time. My husband had been golfing since he got back from Iraq. He actually learned how to golf in Iraq. One of his officers had brought his golf clubs, and they would spend some time learning how to golf out there. And I always thought, that's his thing. I'm not going to, encroach on it. That's his time alone. He really enjoys it. Why would he want to drag his wife out to the golf course with him? But when we came to Minnesota, we really knew it would be important for us to spend our time giving back in ways that was really meaningful to us. And we knew that we wanted to share or honor our shared military experience. Supporting veterans, it wasn't just abstract for us. That was a really personal thing. So, and we also understood where there were gaps when the service ends and you go into the civilian world, and we wanted to be a part of addressing those needs. I just happened to meet someone professionally, Steve Nelson, who was a friend of mine, and he was helping out with the Mendakota event at the time. He found out I was a veteran and invited me to play and come out there and experience it. It was the first time I had seen a teed up event or even heard of the organization. And I was so impressed with the level of professionalism, the honor that the organization put into their opening ceremony, and recognizing those families who have lost loved ones, and recognizing our veterans in front of all of the participants, and just the gratitude that we had for our servicemen and women. After the event, I wrote a letter to Tee It Up and let them know how impressed I was with the experience. And they reached out immediately and said, come on and volunteer with us. And that's how it got started. I started volunteering at the Mendakota Country Club golf event, and then later on the board.
Wow, fantastic. Lots to unpackage there. Let me go back to your husband playing golf over, was it in Iraq?
It was in Iraq. Yeah, he built up Camp Anaconda.
Okay.
And he had a officer that had a set of golf clubs and would let them just go out there and swing away. So they had a good time.
Oh, that is so cool. Well, so I go back to that because I discovered the sport really in earnest in 1989. I had been stationed over in Germany. I had been on active duty over there. And, through some immaturity and just poor choices, my marriage of that time dissolved, and we got divorced. My wife went back to the States. I remained over in Germany, and now I'm dealing with the stress and disappointment of a divorce. And I failed her, I failed my family, I failed myself. And what am I going to do? And I found myself on a driving range in Nuremberg, Germany, at an American golf course there. And I would go there after work and hit balls until sundown, and I was bit. I every place I went, I always found an opportunity to play golf, and it really, really helped me get through uh, that divorce and that loneliness and that separation and that isolation. And I think there's something really incredible about golf in that it's so singularly focused. And I suppose that's the case with any sport, whether you're a tennis player or a basketball player or uh, pickleball. But it is that singular focus where if you let distractions from the outside creep in, it deteriorates your ability to play the game. And so you stay focused on the ball. You stay focused on a couple of swing thoughts. And then there's just the incredible aesthetic beauty of a golf course. The way the grass is mown and the way they manicure the course, and the ponds and the trees and the flowers and things of that nature. And I really found it therapeutic and helpful. And I imagine, but I don't mean to put words in your mouth or the mouth of your husband, but I imagine picking up the game for the first time in Iraq may have had some of those same kinds of therapeutic qualities for him.
I appreciate how you framed up your experience and how it got you through a challenging time in your life. My husband tells the very similar story. And if you think about it, he's in a country torn by war, as a soldier and he's hitting golf balls into, an airfield, into mortared, jets. Just think about the scene that's playing out. And to your point, they're being bombed every single day. They're not, without an attack every 24 hours. And for those few moments that he gets the chance to be with, you know, his battle buddies, swinging the club, he can quiet that noise. And to your point, when he came back from Iraq, he did have some PTSD from his experiences. It was a really challenging time at Camp Anaconda, and I think a lot of people that shared the experience he did on that base will tell you the same thing. And he found golf to be very therapeutic. He didn't tell me that at the time, but those first few years post-war, every week he was on a golf course swinging the clubs. And over time, that just became his routine and his habit and his behaviors. And now fast forward to when we'd moved to Minnesota, 10 years ago, he understood, he got to connect with Teed Up for the Troops in a meaningful way because they talk about sports rehabilitation. They talk about being in nature as therapeutic and a way for you to work through the noise that's inside your mind from the past trauma that you've experienced. And he has learned how to use golf as a tool for him to work through that therapy. It's incredible. And he talks about it a lot through the events that we do with Tee It Up and through the other veterans who and the warrior golfers who begin to get involved through Tee It Up for the Troops.
I love that. I love that. I was listening to a professor talk about a study that he recently did on multitasking. And one of the things that he talked about was we talk about corporate America, multitasking. We're great multitaskers. I'm multitasking, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, actually, the research shows that humans are horrible multitaskers. We excel when we have a singular purpose. And he said, where a lot of our failings and downfalls come is from when we really try to take on too much. And I thought about that in terms of golf. I said, and I thought to myself, well, isn't that interesting? Because golf requires such incredible focus, the clearing of the mind, the breathing technique, and then, your swing thoughts. And you can't fill your head with too many swing thoughts, maybe 2 or 3, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
And how therapeutic that can be, because it gives the individual some respite. Like, there's a place I can go that's quiet, and all I have to do is hit this little ball. And there's a nice little summer breeze out there, and the birds are chirping, and it's green, and it's refreshing. And I don't have to think about work, and I don't have to think about the kids, and I don't have to think about my social commitments. All I have to do is send this little ball into the air or make this putt. And not only can it be just really grounding, but therapeutic, and I think calming also. Your thoughts on that?
I agree. Although I will tell you, as a caveat, I usually tell everyone I'm a social golfer. I'm not the kind of golfer that is able to focus, especially if I'm golfing with my friends. It's really hard for me to be single-minded when I'm chatting and socializing. So I usually get grouped with other people that are like-minded social golfers, while my husband will be with people that like the therapy of golf. But I couldn't agree more. Those who are looking for it can certainly find it on the golf course, and likely in very many other sports as well, as long as it's something that you can focus your time on and quiet the noise.
Well, and I like the social aspect of golf too. When you're riding in a cart or walking, that it gives you an opportunity, unlike other sports. I mean, in pickleball, you can't have a conversation.
No.
In baseball, you can't have a conversation. In tennis, you can't have a conversation. You can have a conversation in golf, whether you're walking together up to your tee shot or you're driving in the cart up to the tee shot. Now, it's a conversation that's interrupted by 30 to 45 seconds to execute the swing or the putt, and then you're right back into the conversation.
That's right.
And I love that aspect of golf too. So, hey, we've been talking a lot about golf and Teed Up for the Troops, but let's get more specific. Tell our listeners specifically the mission of Tee It Up for the Troops.
Sure. Well, and you had framed up really nicely how it got started, and I loved that you were at that very first event. I think that that's so exciting to hear. Teed Up ultimately is here to help raise awareness and to provide support for all of the military's veterans through our golf events, outreach programs, and fundraisers. That's ultimately what we're here to do. And the way that we do that is we have a network nationally of volunteers who are passionate about our mission and put on these incredible events with the support and the backbone of the Teed Up for the Troops team to raise money for us to provide grants to organizations that support the pillars that Teed Up does. And those pillars really are PTSD, suicide prevention, housing, homelessness, employment, caregiver support, which is something that I don't think is talked about very much, and of course, sports rehabilitation. Those are the areas that we focus on and we think are important and critical for veterans to heal.
I love that. I work with an organization called Bravo Zulu. Bravo Zulu House is a veterans post-treatment recovery house, and it is a sober living environment that is in southern Minnesota, Winnebago specifically. But one of the things that they say is the biggest obstacle to long-term recovery from substance use disorder, long-term recovery from alcohol use disorder, is PTSD. Because what we find is that somebody will go through treatment through the VA or some other private entity, and the PTSD isn't really fully addressed, and then they have some triggering event, some kind of stress-filled event, and it becomes an obstacle to their recovery, and we find them going into relapse and then kind of repeating this cycle. So I really, really appreciate Teed Up for the Troops focus on post-traumatic stress disorder, because it's probably the biggest obstacle that we see in long-term recovery for people who are suffering from alcohol use disorder or substance use disorder.
That's a great point, JD. I really feel like with any injury, there's always going to be secondary outliers that can impact the person as well. To your point, if it's alcohol or drug dependency, there may be other mental health, whether depression, anxiety, things like that, that may be outliers. Sleep deprivation is another one that can be seen as a mental health, significant mental health issue as well. So you're not just addressing the symptom or the single problem. You really have to look holistically at what's going on within that person's life and the other pain points that need to be triggered as well. You're right.
Well, no, well said, well said. Let's talk a little bit about the reunion. This is a really unique, incredible program that I myself have had an opportunity to participate in. But the reunion that takes place every year at the Reunion Resort just outside of Orlando, Florida. Tell us a little bit about that.
I was able to participate in it as well with my battle buddy, Aaliyah, who was in Iraq with me. Reunion is an opportunity for combat veterans to reconnect with battle buddies that they served with in war. The purpose is to bring a community of these battle buddies together to share experiences, process, maybe unresolved moments in their military career and afterwards, and navigate those challenges together. I mentioned earlier, I believe that the military and the veteran community is one of the strongest I've ever experienced in my life. I think you might feel the same way about that. And when you bring military people together, it doesn't matter if they're the same branch. It doesn't matter if they served at the same time. It doesn't even matter if they knew each other. There is this connection point where the two of them can put their guards down and speak freely and openly about their military experiences. They don't have to interpret civilian language to another person. They can really speak freely about those experiences. And what we find at Reunion is when you bring these veterans together, it opens up a floodgate of emotions, of experiences, remembering things that had happened, bringing bringing their battle buddies together to remember those moments together. It's so therapeutic for them. And we roll it all into a beautiful environment where they can be outside in nature. They can participate in golf if they so choose to, but they've also got caregivers that get to join them so that the caregivers have a support network, and we can talk to them about and listen to them about the things that they need help with and support with. For Teed Up for the Troops, it's a lot of information gathering so that we can help moving forward, pivot if we need to, or find additional resources for our veterans and the caregivers. And for the veterans, it's an opportunity to speak with each other, to have a safe place with counselors and other supporting partnerships there in that environment to help them recover and grow.
I love that. I love that, and well stated. I refer to it as kind of a psychoeducative environment. We're gonna impact you on the physical level. We're gonna give you some golf instruction. We're gonna put you on some incredible courses: Tom Watson design, Arnold Palmer design, Jack Nicklaus design. We're gonna give you an opportunity to go out and recreate, playing a great sport. But we're also going to impact you on the intellectual level and in the emotive level. We're going to present some information to you. We're going to ask you to think about this. We're going to ask you to talk to your battle buddies about this. We're going to ask you to share in a small group. And we're going to ask you to share in a large group what your findings were, what your thoughts were, what your beliefs and your attitudes are. And it's not licensed clinical psychology. It's psychoeducation, just some stuff to think about. But I find it incredibly helpful, incredibly impactful, and I'm ever so grateful to Teed Up for the Troops for providing myself, my battle buddy, your battle buddy, and the hundreds of veterans that have participated in the reunion weekend.
Agree. It is, and for those that are listening, if they're interested in this or want to learn more about it, the reunion happens in January every year. Applications are available on the website. You can go and learn more about reunion. You can see past reunions. One other thing I want to mention that is tied to reunion through a partnership through Creative Vets, which is a Tennessee-based nonprofit, a Nashville-based nonprofit, is they will come to reunion, and there are some veterans who have the opportunity to tell their stories. I think it's difficult for what we find is that sometimes it can be difficult for a veteran to share their experiences in war with their spouses and those caregivers. They don't want them to worry about them. They don't want there to be fear or judgment. And Creative Vets has created this incredible program where it's a listening exercise. A singer and songwriter group will meet with the veteran, listen to their story, and then create a song and lyrics and music to go along with the experience of that veteran that they can then share in a much more storytelling format for those that they care about. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful experience.
Yeah, it truly is. I had the privilege and honor of listening to one of those songs that lyrics and lyrical content was provided by a World War II veteran. And then the singer-songwriter took those thoughts and those themes and made it into an incredible song. And I don't think there was a dry eye in the house after the performance was over. My guest today is Jen Tregarthen. Did I
Yep,
pronounce that correctly?
you
Tregarthen?
did. Yes.
And Jen is a board member of Teed Up for the Troops. It is a nonprofit, veteran-oriented foundation that provides services in specific pillars, specific themes for our veteran community. Jen is one of their board members. Jen is a combat veteran herself. Jen, it has just been an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. Any last thoughts or comments you would like to leave us with?
Thank you, JD. You know, as Mark and I are both veterans, my husband and I are both veterans, I think that as I mentioned, any of the veteran members who are listening who might want to learn more about how we support recovery and connection, I encourage you to go onto the website for Teed Up for the Troops or to reach out to myself directly. And we're also always grateful for business leaders who feel drawn to the mission and really want to support it through either sponsorships or partnerships. And I would welcome an opportunity for them to reach out to Teed Up as well. It takes all of us together to support our military servicemen and women, and I welcome all those opportunities. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been an incredible half hour. Again, my guest today was Jen Tregarthen, combat veteran and a board member of the Teed Up for the Troops nonprofit foundation. Jen, thank you so much for being with us today. Your thoughts and your insights have just been incredible. It was a fascinating conversation. And to our listeners, thank you. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us to learn more about Veterans for Recovery. This has been a podcast of the Coming Home Well Network. Until next time, be well, think well, and do well. This is Major John Donovan, signing off.
You've been listening to Veterans for Recovery, a Coming Home Well podcast. We value your feedback. Please be sure to leave a review. Share and download this episode. We thank our veterans and service members for your service to our country. We thank our friends and families for their support. And thank you for listening to Veterans for Recovery.